good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. We are here to go over a new show, a show that I have not covered on this channel before. We're going to go over Married at First Sight. It did used to air on Lifetime, I believe, but now Peacock owns the rights or something. So Married at First Sight is now on Peacock. So I guess that is the only way, I believe, other than Hulu, to watch the show. If someone is watching on cable, please let me know. But welcome in. This was the premiere episode, season 19. I can't believe it's been 19 seasons, because I feel like when the show came out, actually, no, I could believe it. The show came out like maybe 10 years ago, so that would make sense. But we are in season 19. This season will be in Austin, Texas, a city that I love. I just can't get with the state, but love Austin, Texas. Very diverse, known for live music. Austin just seems like a fun place, so I absolutely love it. For those who are unsure of how Married at First Sight works, I just thought I'd explain it in case there's people who are just like watching me, not the show. The way Married at First Sight works is literally as it explains itself. People who do not know each other but value marriage, want to get married, want their happily ever after. They come together and they marry somebody that they have never met in their life before. Yes, it's a legal marriage and all of that crazy stuff. So it's an 8-week experiment. They're going to get married, have a wedding, end up in a honeymoon. I believe we'll see them move in together, and we'll kind of watch like people who do not know each other skip hella steps, because that's really what they're doing, to jump right into marriage to see if it works. Now, we start the season off with Pastor Calvin Robertson. He's been a part of the show since season 1. Same thing with Dr. Pepper. They are both relationship experts in their own right. Pastor Calvin will add kind of that, I would say, religious or like God-centered feel to how that applies to relationships, which does matter. Dr. Pepper, just general relationship expert. There's Dr. Pia Hollick as well, who is a sexologist, I believe. So she can kind of help couples with intimacy and things of that nature. So that's what made me want to cover this show, because I really like the structure that there is in terms of the experts. I genuinely enjoy that. But this season, something I noticed is different, because I haven't watched Married at First Sight in a couple seasons since it was on Lifetime. But something I noticed, we've got older people, couples of different ages. We've got people who've been divorced before. So it seems like they have like a little bit more diversity when it comes to the couples. Before we get into it, because I entirely forgot to mention it, James will not be a part of this live. He did watch the episode. He will be recapping this live, but just due to scheduling conflicts, he will not be a part of this live. But we will be live on his channel tomorrow in the morning. I could not tell you what time because he's not the best planner, but we will be live on his channel tomorrow in the morning to go over Bell Collective as well as the Braxtons, which is the Hot Mess Express, but it should be and make for a fun and good discussion. So feel free to subscribe to James's channel. The link is in the description of this video as always. But let's start with the first couple. The first couple we meet is going to be Jalen and Josh. They both were a lot. They both were a lot and a little bit extra, but I felt like it worked because they were both similar in that way. So we'll start with Jalen. She is 27. She says some things to me that were like red flaggy, but let's call a spade a spade. Like, most of the people who sign up for a show like this are a red flag, because it's like, no shade to be so desperate for marriage, or I guess they'll call it their dream or whatever. You know, love is great, but I mean, we skipping steps. I couldn't imagine, but that's what makes it fun to watch. But she says, Jalen, that reality TV has kind of been her blueprint for what she wants in a relationship. She wants like a reality TV romance and, you know, happily ever after. She literally says that she wants kids before 30. She's 27. She must really want a miracle, or she doesn't care to provide her kids with a strong foundation. I don't know. Maybe she'll work out with her spouse, but she wants kids before 30 and she wants a fairy tale ending. There's no such thing as a fairy tale ending. I just thought I'd let people know that. In general, like if you ask any couple that's been married for like 50 plus years, like the couples that's really like just been making it work together, they're not going to say that it's just like a fairy tale, because it's not. That's unrealistic. Life be lifing, and the point of picking a partner, in my opinion, would be to pick someone that when life gets, shitty, that they don't, add more shit to the shit, if that makes sense. So she wants a fairy tale that kind of worries me. I hope that through the fairy tale, they're like have a more of an understanding that it's not always going to be perfect. But other than that, I like Jalen. She had super cool energy. I didn't mind her, but sometimes the perkiest people, I think she was a good example of this, can be people who have a lot of pain. Her dad was in the MLB, Major League Baseball. Looks like he played for the Braves based on his jersey. I like baseball, go Giants. But she felt like her parents growing up stayed together only because of their children. Like she sensed that there wasn't really love there, which kids are not stupid. They can sense it. And so she wants to get the opposite of that. It's kind of odd that she would go in this direction if she wants the opposite of it. But I kind of understand it just because the experts, if these people were just marrying random people at first sight, I'd be like, okay, you're fucking crazy. But doing it with experts and people who have studied relationships and success, marriage and sex and all of these things that really do matter, I can understand it. But that's putting a lot of trust in experts, because I don't know. I'm in graduate school myself, and I'm just thinking of the people out there that's experts that may have graduated with not A's. Are you really an expert? But moving forward to get into Josh. Josh is 31, so a couple years older than Jalen. Josh wants a happily ever after as well. He has a bunch of dogs. He says he cries at weddings. He's extremely affectionate. I'm gonna keep it a buck. He was a little bit feminine for me, and nothing's wrong with it. Like, my husband's extremely affectionate. I feel like it's okay for men to cry. That's not a problem. Humans cry. It's a natural thing to do, and it's necessary. But he seemed like the type of person that will cry at everything. Like, he will cry at anything. Like, if this fool have happy tears, he's crying. But he was cute. I just didn't give me someone that's like, that would only date women. He does not give me gay. That is not what I'm saying. But Josh did not give me someone that would only date women, and ain't nothing wrong with that. But he just seemed very open, very in tune with his emotions, and nothing's wrong with that. I loved his grandmother, Carol. The moment I saw Carol, I loved Carol. I don't know why, but you could sense that his grandmother just loves him and is there for him. And I noticed early on, before we learned what we learned about his parents and background, I did notice early on that like he's very close to his grandmother. So this is where we learned that Josh's mother, his father was not in his life. He never met his father, but his mother went to prison when he was a kid, small kid. I think he said like 3 to 5, something like that. And his mother was in jail, in prison for until he was 16 years old. So he's fully baked and ready to come out. He's sitting and all of that. He's rested. He's ready for life. And, she came out of jail and probably had to get her life together and all of these things, being in prison that long. His grandparents did raise him. His grandparents struggled. They were very poor. Texas is one of those places. That's why I'd be scared to leave California, because if you broke in California, unfortunately, the government will take care of you. I work in social services. I know that for a fact. But in other states, there's not as many avenues to get assistance and things like that. So he was telling stories about having to knock on doors, asking neighbors if there was anything he could do for them to earn money so that he could afford clothes for school that were new. Like, I'm like, damn, I know everybody struggles, but that's crazy. Like, some kids would just be sad and allow themselves to be that way. So for him to be a child and take up the initiative and have the discipline to knock on doors, I respected the hell out of Josh after hearing that. I was like, okay, maybe that's why you're in tune with your emotions. You're just comfortable. Like, you've had to go through some things, and maybe releasing his emotions and being the way that he is and being affectionate and all of that is the very thing that got him through not the best of times. I would say, like, with my own spouse, he grew up a little more impoverished than I did, but he's so much more affectionate and more appreciative, I think, of like simple things in life. So sometimes diamonds are made from struggle. I guess people like Josh are proof of that. So shout out to them. But he met his father for the first time. And he met his father through one of them Ancestry 23andMe tests. And it came out that his mom had a very close relative, or someone who was very close to him as a relative. It was his dad's sister. The dad's sister was like, yeah, you got a dad. He told the dad was like, what the hell? I have a son. Turns out Josh's mom. Now I'm like, okay, I don't like to assume that all people who go to prison are pieces of shit, because that's just not the case. But Josh's mom may be not shit, because you had your son, left him, abandoned him, went to jail, didn't tell the man that you got pregnant while you was pregnant. I need the backstory to understand fully what is going on with Josh's mom, because her and herself, if him and Jalen work out, I want to spin off and I want to see that mama. Where's WeTV? Because WeTV will film a family losing their mind and have a meltdown. WeTV will film shit we don't need to see. Evidence in the Braxtons, Mama June, Love After Lockup. WeTV don't care. WeTV needs to go grab him. I want to know the story. I want to know. But he met his dad for the first time. I was happy to hear that it's going well. Like, he says his dad hits him up every day and is like, hi, son. Hope you have a good day. Like, you can't do much to make up for lost time. I think he knows it's not his father's fault, but he still doesn't know him. But his dad, in my opinion, if you didn't know you had this child and you genuinely met him when he reached out to you, and you are putting the effort in to do the work and say hello and acknowledge him as your child every day, I commend his dad for that. I think that's the best thing you can do in situations like that. And people aren't always receptive to finding out about long lost kids, but make me want to take another ancestry test. My mom did an ancestry test and found out she had a brother. Now I got an Uncle Chris. He subscribes. Thank you, Uncle Chris. But you'd be surprised. You would be surprised. But we get to learn a little bit more about Josh. Though he grew up poor, he does have a great story. He's not poor anymore. He says he makes over $500,000 a year. He got into roofing through a friend and ended up starting his own roofing company. It's not something he ever thought he would be able to do for himself, especially coming from nothing. You could tell that he's extremely humble, and that's something that he values. And I think, before going too ahead of what we saw on the show, if just based on what we saw now, this was where I was like, okay, him and Jalen could work, because baseball players are the highest paid sports people in America, for those who do not know. So I'm like, Jalen obviously grew up, having the things that she needed and wanted in life. But she seems humble as well. So I feel like that is always good. Like, they're opposite, but they're similar in the ways and the spaces that it counts, which I liked. That was cool. So far, I like Josh. I like Jalen. They were cute. They were very, very cute. I don't mind them at all. We get to the wedding day, y'all, and Josh's groomsmen, I'm sorry, y'all, they was all funny looking. I didn't understand it. They all looked confused, but they seemed to be supportive of him. One of them did ask about his mother, which showed okay, he probably has a close, sometimes people who grow up with broken families find family and friends, and it seems like Josh may have that with his friends. They did check on him and ask the right questions about his mom. I was not aware until this scene that Josh's mom was not going to be at his wedding. I was like, oh, what happened when you were 16 that made you just not trust this lady and have issues with her to this extent? I want to know, because I feel like he has good reason to not want her there. And I also respect him for it, because you don't want to just throw on the heaviest part of your baggage onto a new person or the person that you're dating. That's crazy. And that could overwhelm people. So I do respect him for not having her there. But But he also didn't invite his dad. And he didn't invite his dad because he was just like, he doesn't know him well enough. I can understand that. Now, the mom, he made it seem like he don't ever want her to be around his kids, his wife, like anybody that he truly cares about or values. That's not just a I went to prison when my son was 3 type of thing. That's a what did you do when you got out to this boy? I am curious about his mom because people don't just feel that way to feel that way. You have to really genuinely like mess up. Like, I'm a child of a parent that went to prison for a good chunk of my childhood. I didn't see my dad again until I was 16, but we got back into things and it worked out. But we also communicated while he was gone. Like, nothing stopped my dad from having a relationship with me. And that's why I'll always love my dad. Nothing will stop him, not even being shackled and put behind bars. So I'm curious if Josh's mom was reaching out or if it was just him and his grandparents, and he might be resentful or may have seen his grandmother suffer or something like that. Not sure what it is, but he has a lot in his family. And I feel like his trauma may be leading him to a process like this, but I don't think he's going to cause someone else pain, if that makes sense. But I definitely feel like this is a trauma-informed decision on his part. And the same thing with Jalen, because we learned with Jalen that she found the love of her life. They went through a rough patch, broke up. During the breakup, she ended up in another relationship. During the relationship she was in that was new, her ex that she felt was the love of her life died. They passed away. She was struggling with that while in a new relationship, and then finds out that the new relationship that she was in, he was cheating on her. I said, oh shit. And she's talking about it all playful and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot imagine leaving the love of my life to try it with someone new because we're going through a rough patch. Then he passes away. Then I'm like, okay, well, at least I still have this person I'm with now. And then they cheat on you. Girl, I felt for her when she said all of that, but she seemed to like, you could tell she's someone that doesn't like to cry. Like Josh will cry and get it out, which is healthy. But Jalen, she seems like the person that's going to laugh and try to avoid like those tears and those feelings. So in that way, they're opposites. And I do think that opposites attract and work in relationships. Like, I am a crier. My husband will probably scream that to the heavens and agree with me. Like, I am a crier. He's not much of a crier. Like, he does cry like for significant things, but he's not much of a crier. Handles stuff differently. So, and it works. Sometimes opposites attract and they just work. So, you know, poor thing. I felt for her. So I'm sorry, Jalen. I hope this works out. I hope Josh treats her right. I really do. But we get to the wedding. They come down the aisle. Everything went well. Like, he seemed moved, like he was impressed and happy when he saw her. It seemed like they're both mutually attracted to each other. Josh talked with Jalen's family and it was natural. But this is where we learn, y'all. Jalen's mom. Now, at the beginning of the episode, they had showed like the clips of what's to come, and they showed an older gentleman who was divorced. And we know that Jalen's mom is divorced. Jalen's mom says, welcome to the family to Josh. And then it says to him that she would like to invite him to her wedding since he is her new son-in-law. She then informs Jalen and Josh that she is also going to be getting married at first sight. So her mom is going to be doing the show with her, which is an interesting concept. Interesting. I'm curious about the mom wanting to do Married at First Sight. And now I'm curious about the mom in that marriage. Like, I'm just curious because that's different to like do any type of a dating show with a parent. It's just like weird to me. Like that MILF Manor show that TLC should never bring back. Like, that's just, it's weird, but we will see. But let's move on, y'all, to the next couple. I hope that those that are watching like the video. It is a new show. I will do the best that I can. I know Peacock aired 4 episodes at once on the 23rd when this aired. I ain't recapping 4 episodes in one time. Ain't no way in hell that I'm going to do that. However, I will get the episodes out throughout the weekend. I'm probably going to do the second episode Tomorrow, if time permits with James, I'm going to run that by him after I get off of this live. But I am going to get those 4 episodes out. And then as Peacock airs it, if they air 1 episode at a time, I'll do that. But we'll get through, y'all. So I'll be live on Saturday and I will be live on Sunday. But that's okay because I'll get to be here with y'all. Next couple we meet is Brittany and Will, 29 and 30 years old. Let's start with Brittany. Brittany is, and I like how this show always gives us an African-American couple. Like some shows will leave us out or say, we just want one minority. Let's do an Asian couple this season. And next season, we'll do a Black couple and all of that. Married at First Sight is so diverse and I love them for that. But Brittany and Will are African-American couple. We'll start with Brittany. She grew up in a 2-parent household. She said that she grew up with parents that never showed affection and they still married. And I saw that. Her parents were interesting. We'll get into her parents later. She says that aside from her first relationship, which she said was 10 years ago, and she's 29, so I'm going to put 10 years ago at 19. Your first relationship at 19 is crazy. Some people, I get that, but I'm like, girl, you did not date at all in high school? Were you not allowed to date? Because I know at the end of this, her dad was asking some biblical type questions. So I'm like, were you not allowed to date? My parents didn't want me to date. I still had little boyfriends and stuff on the side though. And I know my dad was away, but if he was not away, he probably wouldn't have let me date till I was 18. He probably wouldn't have done that. And then I probably wouldn't have met my husband and that would have been problematic. But she basically, Brittany says what's motivated her to do this show is the fact that all of the women in her family are single. It seems like, aside from the mom who's in the relationship with zero affection. But Brittany basically wants different for herself. We did learn that she lost a sister to COVID in 2020. So condolences to her. She probably won't see this, but that's horrible, especially knowing now they've got medications and things to help people. So I empathize with anyone who's lost a loved one, especially a sibling. That's just no fun. Moving on to Will. He's 30. His life was a little different. His parents divorced when he was 12 years old. But his grandparents, he said, were together for over 30 years. I was cracking up at his friends. He is so opposite of all of his friends. He was also very opposite of his mother because he was using words like verbose and litany, and his friends are laughing at him. You know, Will, something that caught my eye, and James would probably give me hell for saying this, but his friends were playful. They made everything a joke. He said they are all happily married and in love. Will is using words like verbose and litany of things. And got to come on the show and marry a bitch he ain't never met before to find love. Nothing is wrong with being educated. Nothing is wrong with being an intellect. Nothing is wrong with that. You don't have to dim your light for nobody. But it's okay to laugh and use a slang form of verbiage every now and again. Like, lay back, chill out. And I think that that's where, I definitely think that's where Brittany could be a balance for Will, because he seemed like he could be uptight. Like, he's the type of person where you could be like joking, like, haha, how about those Lakers? And he will give you a whole annotated bibliography on their stats, and where you can, like, nobody, he just seems like he needs to relax a little bit, but I think it's good that he has playful friends. But I do notice that sometimes the most serious people are the people that end up alone. Like, you have to laugh in life. It's infectious. It's good for you. Like, literally, laughter is good for you. It's a fact. Look it up. But I did like Will. I did like Will a lot. We get to the point of where they're going to get married on the wedding day, and Will's mama irritated me because she hugged him. First of all, her makeup was toe up from the flow up. I'm sorry. She had on so much makeup, layer after layer of blush. And I'm looking like, why did she do this? I didn't understand it. It looked like it ran in the family because the sister did the same thing. But She then gave him a hug. And you know this is not a woman that understands to use a good setting spray for your makeup. So she goes for a hug, and her eyeshadow and part of her eyebrow came off on his suit. The brother looked good in the suit. And then all I could see the whole rest of the episode was that damn pink piece of eyeshadow and the little dark smudge from the black pencil she used on her eyebrow. You got to know when you hug somebody, like when I have on makeup, if I'm hugging someone or laying on someone, specifically the husband, like I'm very like conscious of that, because I don't, especially if he's wearing white or a lighter color, you don't want to get your makeup on them. Come on, mom. But his mom irritated me. She seemed a little bit negative. Instead of the, you're going to do this, she was kind of like reminded him, you don't even know her name, but you're about to get married. It's like, why are you rubbing salt in the wound? Like, I get that you want him to change his mind, but he's his own man. He's 30 years old. Let him be a man. Let him make his own decisions. Like, I get it. I get it. And I feel like a lot of Black moms, a lot of moms in general, I don't know what it is with moms with their sons. Whew, Lord. Because you could tell she just wanted him to change his mind. And I feel like she intentionally got that makeup on his suit. Nobody could tell me different. Nobody could tell me different, because there was no good reason to have that much makeup on your eye and all those colors. Why do you have pink blush on your face with a pink highlight that's different from the pink blush and a pink eyeshadow that's matching the blush on your face? I didn't understand it. But moving forward, the mom did give some slight red flags just on that, but I also think she was just coming from a good place and cared about her kid, honestly. But Brittany comes down the aisle and she was super nervous. Like, this couple, you could really sense the nerves. I think they put more weight on it. I think with the first couple, Josh and Jalen have both gone through a lot of pain. And sometimes trauma and pain, when you've been through the worst, you're like, fuck it, can't get any worse. What do I have to lose? It's easier to jump into things when you've been through stuff. Brittany and Will, I'm not saying they haven't been through anything, but in terms of like relationships or family, they didn't speak of too much that was horrible. But they were noticeably much more nervous than the first couple. Like, she was late because of her nerves. He came out, he looked around. The family was welcoming him. They was like, okay, that's going to work. The girls was like, oh, he's attractive, this and that. And he didn't speak to nobody barely. He just looked around, walked to the altar. Like, they were so nervous. They were so nervous. But I mean, wedding days, I knew my spouse, and on my wedding day, I could barely even get the words out. However, I still can't say for richer or poorer. I have to slow it down like that to be able to say it. So I've learned it wasn't nerves. I just can't speak English well. But they do get married. Afterwards, they do their little chat. That's what they do in Married at First Sight. And it was funny because they cheers their champagne and she chugged her cup. He took a sip. I said, and she pointed it out. He didn't even seem to be bothered by it, but that showed me they're very different. But I think he needs different. He needs a woman that's going to take the shot and chug the drink. He needs her to do that. He just does. But some things they had in common: their age, they're close in age. They both work in tech. He's a tech consultant. Shout out to the tech workers. My husband's studying for that. Shout out to Also Best for that. But she does human resources. She's basically HR for a tech company and handles a lot with sales and things of that nature. So she is definitely a career woman, and very ambitious. He is as well. They're both in fields that'll make them lots of money, so I don't see why they would struggle. The only thing I found that was strange is they don't use sheets, and I didn't understand why these people do not use sheets on their bed, but, to each his own. If that's what you do, that's what you do, but at least she's disinfecting hotel rooms. I love it, because when I go to a hotel, the first thing I'm going to do, if the bed is not mine, I'm lifting, I'm checking for stuff. We doing a thorough search before we get into anything. So I can definitely understand that. Now, the last thing we see from this episode is the disaster that is Will talking to Brittany's parents. Now, he goes up to her parents, talks to her, and he did make the good point, like, most people know and have met their in-laws when they get to the wedding. I got to go introduce myself to them at the wedding. And I'm like, yeah, that's a see, I would need a do-over if I was married at first sight, because I'll be damned if I'm uncomfortable and nervous at my own motherfucking wedding. At my wedding, I would want to be, I would just want to have a good time. If people have to be there, because I always tell my husband, if I have a wedding, I don't really want to deal with nobody. It can just be us, and I'm happy with that. Everybody just got to have a good time. Let's just chill. Let's just have a good time. Good vibes. We don't need to talk. Let's just slap, drink, eat, celebrate. And then they could do that thing where they throw the money at you guys. I want that. That's all. But he goes up to her dad. Her dad instantly starts asking him about church. Obviously, this man is very into church and beliefs. I'm not surprised in Texas. Her dad asks Will about his belief, and he says that he's agnostic. For those who don't know what it means to be agnostic, it basically means they confused and they unsure. They believe that there's some sort of a higher power, but they don't know which one to believe in, and they don't want to conform to anybody's rules of religion, which is fine. Her dad looked a little like sketchy on it, but he looked like he was going to accept it. Now, for some reason, Will went into the history of religion and how the denominations of Christianity originated from the Catholic Church and some sort of execution within Catholicism and history and all this stuff. And I was with the dad. Mind y'all, I love history, but I was with the dad. He looked at that man and he said, oh, yeah, so that's nice. You play dominoes. But I was pissed off because he said, no, he don't play dominoes, but he plays spades and cards and stuff. I wouldn't want to play spades with him. He gonna have to learn how to play some dominoes. He just gonna have to learn. But I did like that it went to that point. But when he said it, you could tell he was nervous. And this is what I mean by Will needs to relax, because the dad was just trying to make a joke like, okay, you smart, you got me. You play dominoes, can we do that? And Will was like, yeah, absolutely. I played spades, cards, goldfish, you name it. And I'm just looking like, relax, bro. Relax. You don't even know if you like the bitch enough to want to deal with her daddy yet. All he had to say, hello, nice to meet you. I'm going to do my best. See you later. That's it. Or you could have asked for his hand or something. I mean, I don't know. But I felt like Will was just overthinking the conversation with his dad. It seemed like he just gave the more difficult answers versus just, sometimes it's good to be short. When you're just meeting people, you don't need to be giving them a essay with a reference list and an annotated bibliography. Like, you don't need to do it. I'm agnostic. All right. That's it. I'm agnostic, but I don't got no problem with people who go to church. He done threw his family out into the mud. I don't know the last time they've been to church. I think it was Baptist. I was like, Will, be quiet. Be quiet. But I do think that Will cares. But seeing his interactions with Brittany's family, seeing his interactions with Brittany, I can understand why he is single or was single. He seems like he just locks up, gets too focused on making a good impression, that he comes off stiff or awkward. And he's not. But I hope that he'll warm up. I'm curious to see. I know we're finna meet some more couples, y'all. I am going to watch the second episode of Married at First Sight. Tonight, I will go live and get that episode to you guys tomorrow. They did a 4-episode premiere. So I am just going to go live 4 days in a row to get it out the way. But Married at First Sight does air on Thursdays on Peacock. I know that you can also watch it on Hulu, or you could just come here with me and I'll go over what happened in the episode. So far, based on what I think of the first 2 couples we met, if I had to choose which couple will make it between the two, I think Josh and Jalen have a higher chance of lasting and making it based on what I saw this first episode. but I'm not counting out Brittany and Will. I feel like Brittany will be okay. It's Will I'm a little worried about right now and how he'll do with this process, as well as his family. I'm curious how his family will integrate, because the way his mom was with it before, I wonder if she would like interfere in any way. But I love Married at First Sight, y'all. I think it's a great concept. I'm also trying to be more intentional with covering shows that are a little less heavy than the Housewives and the Braxtons and all the different shows that we've covered. Bravo can sometimes be like this messy web of toxicity, which some of that will come with this too, but I'm married, so it makes sense to cover some sort of show on marriage. So there you have it. James will be joining us as a regular co-host, you guys, on these recaps that I do for Married at First Sight. He had to do something with his mans, so he was not able to make it, but the link to his channel is in the description of this video. As always, we'll be live on his channel tomorrow as well, going over the Braxtons and Bell Collective. I love Bell Collective, y'all. It's the only thing Carlos King makes that I love. That's it. Or even like. But other than that, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I will be here again tomorrow to go over this. Appreciate you all. Like the video, subscribe if you really like us, and I see y'all next time. Good night.